Hello, my name is Jessica and I have Tucker here. He's going to answer a couple questions in just a few minutes. For my historical fiction novel this week, I chose the I Survived series. It's a book from the I Survived series, and it's I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916. The author is Lauren Tarshis, I think that's how you say it. And the illustrator is Scott Dawson. It is a copyright. It has a copyright date of 2010 by Scholastic, and it is about 94 pages. The recommended age group for this book is ages 7 to 10, and that age is roughly grades 2 through 5 as well. And that was recommended by Scholastic. Some of the awards that this book has received is, number one, it's part of a New York Times best-selling series. It is one of USA Today's best-selling series as well. In 2016, it was the Audible Best of 2016. It was a finalist. It was the honor book of the 2014 Massachusetts Children's Book Award. And in 2012, it was the winner of Colorado Children's Book Award. So Tucker, quick question. This is one of your books that we have here at the house. What makes you, as an 8-year-old, want to read this book?
Because it's about history.
Do you like history?
Yeah.
What do you like about history? Just learning about it?
Yeah.
How people lived? How they treated each other? Do they treat each other the same today as they did back then?
No.
No. What about this shark on the front? Does that make it look exciting or scary?
Scary.
Scary. You want the shark to take a bite out of your leg? No. All right. Thanks, buddy. You can lay back down if you want to. So this book, just like in the title, takes place in the year 1916. The setting is in New Jersey, and it's mostly along the shore of New Jersey. Chet is the main character of the book. He is a 10-year-old boy who is visiting his uncle for the summer while his parents are in California working. Chet has to go and make new friends throughout the summer since he's new to the area, and he actually is a little bit of a prankster at the beginning and likes to prank his new friends. But then as the story goes on, Chet then hears about a shark, a great white shark that is attacking, and long story short, Chet ends up swimming in a creek by himself one day, sees the shark, runs back to tell everyone. They all think he's pranking except for an old sea captain. And Chet finally gets the sea captain to go down to look. And when he does, he realizes that his 3 friends are down there swimming to make it out okay. Then they see the shark, and the 3rd friend, Chet, ends up jumping in and helping him get out. His name's Sid. Helps him get out of the creek and ends up getting suffering a pretty bad bite on his leg from this shark. I personally remember growing up throughout grade school, learning about the early 19th century, and World War I was going on during this time period, and so I feel like part of the reason why Chet's mom had to go with his dad is because during this time period, a lot of the men were away at the war, and so then it was expected for the women to step up, and they actually had to get out in the workforce and work some more. A couple of the characteristics that Chet possesses, especially in the beginning, it's a feeling of just loneliness. He feels like he's not going to belong anywhere. On page 20 of the book, it has a statement that kind of makes you believe this. It says, would he ever really belong anywhere, or would he always be on his own, a tiny speck in the middle of the ocean? So obviously Chet feels alone, and as a 10-year-old boy, having an almost 9-year-old myself, I couldn't imagine him going somewhere and being perfectly fine not having any friends there, if that makes sense. Another characteristic that Chet proves as the story goes on is that he's trustworthy. In the beginning, he's the little prankster, you know, once he makes his new friends. But by the end, when he jumps in to save his friend, that lets his friends know that he's trustworthy and they can depend on him pretty much for anything. Let me look. Let's see. For example, on page 70, it shows that his friends did not think that he was going to be, that people weren't going to believe him. It says, let me look. On page 70, it says, they hooted with laughter and Chet stood there totally helpless. That shark was probably long gone. And that's when Chet was telling them originally that he had seen the shark when he was in the creek by himself. I feel like Chet matured throughout the story in a few ways. He became good friends with the 3 other boys, which shows he had to break out of his shell, find the new norm. And he was also outgoing and showed that truly his friends truly meant something to him, even at 10 years old. We all heard what Tucker said about liking the book. He likes history, so being able to see some of how they lived in this book relating back to the early 19th century helped him understand the book as well. I feel like this story, it did show some good dialogue of this. Hold on, let me find the page. It did show some good dialogue of this time period of the early 19th century, or 1916. On page 6 of this book, it states just little sayings like, let me look. Page 6, it says, you fellas aren't trying to fool us, are you? And that just shows you small town. I'd say some places may talk like this today, but the majority of places and towns aren't really, around this area, the towns are bigger, more populated, so it's not that homegrown feel. Another quote is on page 39. Stop, please. And it was the quote that said, just simply says, that's the way, kiddo, he said, there's no room in a small town for grudges. And I feel like that shows how a small town truly is today, the few that there are, but also back then it seemed like every different town that you went to, everybody knew everybody, everybody got along, and that's sort of what this is insinuating, that there's no room to have any disagreements with anyone. And I believe that this book, I could easily tie this into a history class as well. I feel like the book's it's an easy read for students, and it gives them a change of pace as opposed to just reading the regular textbook. It's a fun book, but then they can still learn a little about history. I think that I would use this book then, like once we finish reading it, to then research about the time period of the early 19th century, and especially 1916, so that maybe they could relate some of what Chet and the other characters in this book went through on their daily lives or over the broad spectrum. So overall, we like this book. We like this series. They have other books in this series. And why do we like them? Because they're about what?
History.
History. Have a good day.